welcome to Heavy Water. My name's Pete Shaw. I've been surfing big waves nonstop since the El Nino winter of 2015. That's my first time ever riding or owning a big wave gun. I was surfing in Ocean Beach, California. And since then, I've been to Waimea, Jaws, Nazare, Mulligmore, and a whole bunch of waves in Spain. And I've been through a lot of heavy situations in that time. So I thought it'd be fun to make this series of my top 10 worst wipeouts. Not all of these are wipeouts. Some of these are close calls. So I thought it'd be fun to start out with a close call where it wound up being a happy day when it could have went really badly. So Nazare, February 9th, 2022. This was my first season surfing at Nazare. I had surfed the full season at Jaws the year before, 2021, which was a La Nina year, and Hawaii was going off that winter, and I got a few fun days paddle surfing at Jaws. So the next year I found myself surfing in France with some friends, and there happened to be some good conditions for Nazare, so I drove down. There were like 20-foot waves, offshore winds, perfect, beautiful conditions. That year, Nick Von Rupp got a really sick barrel, and it was the first time I've ever seen anyone get a barrel at Nazare on a 10-foot gun. So I was real inspired to get out there and try to get one for myself. What happened was it wound up being the best season in Nazare history since people have been surfing there. People have only been surfing there since around 2010. Before it was a bodyboard spot. And I'm sure the bodyboarders have scored countless barrels there. But from some of the OG Nazare crew that I spoke to, they said it was the best season they've ever seen. There were multiple days with just giant surf and little to no wind or light offshore winds. For most big wave spot, you either want no wind or a light offshore. So I already scored a few good days this season. In December, January 8th and January 9th, some of the biggest waves I've ever seen at Nazare, still to this day. But this day was February 9th, and it was a beautiful, sun-shining day with light offshore winds and waves in the, 20-foot Hawaiian range. I would say some of the wave faces on that day were up to 50, 60 feet for sure. And it was just the most beautifully shaped big waves I've ever seen. It was just top to bottom barreling waves on some of them, not on all of them. Nazare is kind of known as a mushburger wave. I wouldn't call it a mushburger. I personally would call it an avalanche, because when those waves peak and it's just that giant whitewater, there's so much power in that whitewater, and it can easily break your back or break your arm. I've had a few close calls, and a lot of my friends have gotten injured. But on this day, it was the most picture-perfect day you could ever imagine. And I had met some Dutch surfers earlier in the season, and they were looking for an additional member of their team to join them out there for a tow surf session. And I was like, me, I want to go. So this was actually my first time tow surfing in really XXL surf. I had towed a few smaller days at Nazare just to kind of learn what it's all about, and I've driven like some friends who were foiling, but this is my first like serious XXXL swell tow surfing. I had my own tow board, but just because there's not a lot of room on the jet ski, my tow partner Jorgen Borsboom, he's a Dutch surfer, he was just like, no, leave it. We'll take one board and you can use mine. So he had a board. I think his board was a 6-kilo board. Mine was a little heavier. I think mine was an 8-kilo. I was like, isn't that a little light? He's like, no, it'll be fine. And he didn't have the big wave tow fins. Future Fins makes these like Carlos Burley special tow fins. So I had those in my board, and he just had the Almeric AM1s, which you would ride at like 2-foot Huntington Beach. And I was like, are you sure those are gonna work? And he's like, yeah, I've done it before, trust me. And I was like, okay, well, here goes nothing. Like, I don't want to miss this, so let's go. So we were out there. Sasha, another Dutch surfer, was towing into some waves with Fabian, and those guys got some really good waves. They even took the 10-foot guns and were towing with 10-foot guns on these waves. And some other guys were out there like Antonio Cardoso. But it was kind of the end of the season, so it wasn't super crowded. So we were just like pinching ourselves, like I can't believe like how good this is. Lucas Chumbo came out, he got a good wave and did a backflip kick out. And that was before he had actually like landed one and ridden one out, so he did it and he was just kind of like smiling like a little kid. He had the biggest grin. It's cool to see Chumbo in the zone because he's a beast. He's next level out there. So then it was my turn to go, and it was the afternoon, and there's no wind, just beautiful conditions, and we towed into a nice smaller wave. I would say it was like a 25 foot face, and I just kind of did a little pump down the line and kicked out, and it was fun. But I was like, okay, we need to get a real one. So the next wave, Jurgen put me on a much bigger wave. It was more on the first peak where you get that, I don't know, wedge effect, and it was probably the fastest wave of my life. I was just flying super fast, probably at least 30 miles per hour, and I was in this super wide stance because Jurgen is a lot taller than I am, and the straps were set up super wide on the board. So I was like, man, how do you even surf like this? So I was just like knees bent, crouched down in this survival stance, just trying to stay in the straps. And I was surfing this wave and going super fast and hitting so many bumps. It was like going down a mountain snowboarding on a trail with moguls and just hitting every mogul, every bump like straight on without doing any turns. You're just like, it was so fast and so fun. And I just rode the wave all the way to the shoulder. But I couldn't tell how big that wave was because it felt like I was so far in front of it. Like, if this is the wave, I felt like I was like way over here, like way on the shoulder. And later I saw some videos and I saw that was a huge wave. That was at least a 45 foot face. But yeah, you were just so far in front of it. So I was like, okay, I've seen some barreling waves out here. On the next one, I'm going to ride it to the inside and I'm going to try to pull into the barrel because there were barrels out there that day. Some of the most beautiful waves I've ever seen in my life. I think Lucas got a barrel, but no one was really going for those because a lot of times at Nazare, the wave will kind of just roll and roll. It looks like it's going to break, and then it just doesn't break. It'll roll for another 50 meters, like another 150 feet, and then it'll break on the inside. And some of those ones get really big on the inside, and that's where you can get like a crazy barrel. So I was like, okay, next wave, just ride it straight and go, and then bottom turn, and maybe you can pull in. So, of course, this massive wave comes, and I did what I said I was going to do. I just kept gunning straight down the thing. But it was so bumpy, because when you catch one of these waves so early, it's not like you're paddling and then you're dropping in on a smooth face. I personally love paddling way more, but on this day, it was fun to try toe surfing because it was way too big to paddle. But when you get into the wave so early, you're still on that raw ocean swell, and there's like so many bumps and chops on the wave. So if you get in it way early, you're just hitting all these bumps. And I was in this super wide stance, and I was just like, do. And I was trying so hard to just bend my knees and stay on the board. In my head, I was just like, stay on, keep going straight. And eventually I got to the inside and the wave felt like it just jacked up behind me. And I was in this super wide stance and I was like, you need to bottom turn now or you're going to die. And I was having a hard time turning the board. So I'm goofy and I stuck my left arm into the wave and I started doing a slow but sure bottom turn. And I was like hearing the wave crashing above me like, and I looked up, I was like, you need to make this bottom turn or you're going to die. It looked like a building was collapsing over me. And I was like, you need to make this. In my head, I was like, this is it. Like, this is a do or die situation. And I bottom turned, but since I did such a slow, gradual bottom turn, once I was cutting on the wave, the thing was just right over me, and I was in the shadow of this massive barrel, and like everything around me got dark, and all of a sudden this super bumpy wave got perfectly smooth like butter. And I was like, oh my God, I'm in nirvana. This is the sweet spot. And the barrel above me was just so tall. It wasn't like I was in a tight tube. It was just like this building was curling over me, and it's like you're in this whole other ecosystem. There's no wind there because the wave is so big, it blocks the wind. And the wave was just, I don't know how to describe it. It was just a moment of bliss. It's like, in that moment, time stood still, and I was just like, wow, this is beautiful. Thanks, God. And it felt like it lasted like 2 whole minutes. It was really like 2 seconds, but if you're in that intense a situation, your brain kind of slows things down, and it just felt like I was standing there forever. It's funny, just thinking about some waves brings you joy, brings you back that stoked feeling. Like, just talking about it now, it feels like I'm still there, you know? That was one of the happiest moments of my life, and I think it'll stick with me my whole life. Like, some of those waves you get, it's just ingrained in your brain forever, and for me, that's one of those waves. So I was standing there, like, happy as can be, having this moment of bliss. And then eventually I kind of came out the bottom of the wave, and I started to hit some bumps again. And then I looked up, and it just looked like wedge apocalypse. Like, this huge shore break was now bouncing and doing all these crazy backwash things. And I was like, oh no, you need to eject. You need to jump off your board. I spent a lot of time surfing the wedge in California, and I think the inside shore break at Nazare is kind of like the wedge on steroids. It's just like hits all these bumps, and it's super unpredictable. But this wave looked like it was about to close out right on top of me, so I was like, okay, you need to jump out of the straps, because I've heard so many stories of surfers just getting caught with their foot in the straps and then snapping their ankle or hurting their knee. So I was like, okay, just eject. And I got to the bottom of the wave. Right before it kind of closed out and broke over me, I just jumped out, and then it broke over me. And I kind of got under it, so I did get a beat down, but it wasn't the worst beat down in my life. And I think I pulled the inflation just to get to the surface quicker so Jurgen could find me and rescue me easily, since I had gone all the way inside on this wave. And he came to scoop me up not pretty quickly, actually. I think he was driving around looking for me, but I might have been floating there for like 10-15 seconds, and then he found me, and I got on the sled, and he was like, don't do that again. Don't go to the inside. I was like, bro, I just caught the wave of my life. I think I'm done for today. And I was just grinning ear to ear the rest of the day. And that could have went really badly because I wasn't on my board, and it was really hard to surf in a super wide stance like that. But I'm stoked I pulled it off, and just like to be able to stand in a barrel like that, I don't think I'll ever forget that. And what was so like surprising about it was how smooth the wave was. I was like, this is it. Like, this is why we do this, you know? Yeah, that stoke will be with me for the rest of my life. So later that day we had a campfire, and we did a little barbecue at the marina, and Tomas, who's also a Dutch photographer, comes up to me. He's like, man, I think I got your wave. And he showed me this clip, and it just looked like I was so deep in the barrel, because the whitewater at Nazare just explodes, especially when it's on the inside like that. It really breaks hard in the shallow water. It can be dangerous, but it was just like this huge explosion of whitewater. and then I just came shooting out of it. I was like, what? That's like the sickest barrel ever. But the angle he was shooting from just made it look super deep. And really, I think I was in it, but it was more like over me. But that angle looks like just insane. And later I showed it to my friends, and my friend Rudy was like, I think this is not the barrel. I was like, man, I don't know what you want to call it, but I was in that thing and it was scary. Like, I'm so stoked I came out of there in one piece and I was able to get out of the straps before that thing just detonated on top of me. That was crazy. But the whole ride was just beautiful, and it was so much drama, and just to get a barrel and just feel how smooth and how perfect and beautiful the wave at Nazare can be. That was a special experience. And I've been going back. This year is now my 5th season at Nazare. I'm about to head back there in a week. And yeah, I still haven't seen a day quite like February 9th, 2022. So I keep praying for conditions like that. And maybe that was just a once in a decade swell, but I don't know. If it happens again, I really hope to be there. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. That was a close call. That turned out to be a happy moment. We all had a barbecue and drank a beer afterwards. I think we went partying because it was Carnival, and that was a good time. But yeah, magic moment at Nazare. I've had some way heavier moments where it didn't work out. Boards were broken, jet skis were crashed. So I want to continue this series with 9 more videos. So we'll say that was the number 10 heaviest, and then the next video will be number 9. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. This video is sponsored by Trees Wax. This is a Trees Wax hat right here. And Don't Surf Naked. Don't do it. Clothing brand from Munich. It makes some really cool surf-inspired artwork and shirts and clothes and pants and all the things that you need to not be naked. Yeah, so I'm stoked. I'm gonna go have dinner. Stay stoked. See you in the next episode. You!